Hi everyone, Brandon and Carrie, and we're back after quite a long absence. Um, it's not that we haven't had anything going on; it's just that life has gotten in the way, and many ways that is actually a blessing that we've had a lot of things going on in our lives and in the lives of our children. Um, but we have received some recent news that has made us come back here and give you all an update because one of the many things that has happened along this journey that started back in January of 2019 as we've been surrounded by people um, whom we've never uh, we never knew before and whom we would probably have never known if not for this situation involving our family and the glioblastoma diagnosis that I received back in January of 19. So we will do our best to go through this quickly. There's a lot to be told, um, but kind of give you the Cliff Notes version as much as we can. So, and looking back through the YouTube videos, I believe the last time that we checked in on one of these was right around the time of the third surgery. And Carrie's better with these timelines than I am. So obviously, last year in 2020, I ended up having two surgeries. One of them was in the summer, and it went well. And I recovered for the most part from that. I did have permanent blindness in my left visual field, which was a result of the occipital lobe, the right occipital lobe, being completely removed. But uh,
Well,
the
that happened in December. December, that's whenever you had
the complete blindness,
yeah, but that's whenever you got the lobe removed.
right?
Yeah.
But prior to that, in the summer, in July, is when um, during my second surgery, there was some injury that resulted in permanent impairment with my left visual field. And so the surgeon, Dr. Zen, determined that he thought it would be best to go ahead and take as much as he could. It wouldn't cause any further impairment with my vision. And he wanted to be as aggressive as possible in trying to remove the cancer. We decided last year and actually along the way to not further treat the cancer with chemotherapy. And that had mainly to do with the fact that the first round in January and February of 2019, my body did not respond well. I had a platelet drop almost to nothing, very sick, and just didn't seem to treat it well, though we were told from the beginning that it wasn't such a great option anyway. You know, they had a very low efficacy rate. At one point, we did consider going with an immunotherapy route, but it was determined that I had not the best genetic mutation. I had did I have a low mutational rate or a high mutational rate?
I don't know. It was about like the MGMT, and you were negative with that, and then your IDH1.
Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't whatever it was. It wasn't right.
Right. So, essentially, my oncology team, the entire time, like most oncology teams are, I would imagine, they've been trying to determine what's the best course of action. Because of the way that I responded poorly to chemotherapy the first time, we were headed toward a different route, and then my doctors, uh, who were originally pushing me toward immunotherapy, determined after some further genetic testing that the immunotherapy route was also probably not going to be a great route. So what we ultimately determined to do is to kind of monitor it and uh, go in surgically when possible. And so, thankfully and blessedly, I had three successful surgeries with very little impairment other than with my visual field. And even there was a possibility given after December for a fourth surgery and perhaps beyond. I responded very well to all the surgeries, and the surgeon thought that that could be the best option for me in my treatment plan. If you're not quite as familiar with our story, I'll go back and preface this from the very beginning. Our feeling was that this situation is in God's hands, and the theological views that we have, and particularly that I have, I never believed that I was going to find the perfect treatment plan. There was the exact cure out there that was going to heal me. I trusted God's plan throughout this, but that also didn't mean that I was to be negligent and do nothing. And so that was never my approach either. We considered chemo, we considered immunotherapy, Optune, all the different options. We just didn't feel that those were right for us. That doesn't mean that somebody else out there, those won't be the best options for them. In fact, I've met people throughout this journey, and they seem to be doing quite well with various chemo options. It just wasn't the right fit for our family, for my situation. I did respond well to surgeries, but kind of fast forward now to where we are today. This was going back 2 weeks ago on Friday. Dates are kind of escaping me right now.
I can look it up.
Yeah.
The 7th, April 7th.
April 7th. I had kind of my regular bi-monthly checkup where I go in for MRIs.
Well, remember, on that Monday, you weren't feeling well. Tuesday, you really
like
weren't
headaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday, you really weren't feeling well, and so I took you to the emergency room.
Okay, that's true.
Remember that? So
yes.
On that Tuesday.
But it was right before I had my scheduled.
Yeah, your schedule. You were scheduled on Friday the 7th, but on that Tuesday prior, I was going to go to work, and Brandon started complaining, like not complaining, but saying that his head started to hurt again, and it was like worse. And you even took Tylenol for it,
mm-hmm.
and you never take anything, so you took Tylenol for it. Still was hurting, and I remember thinking like something's not right, and I called the doctor to see if we should take him to the ER, and they said yeah. So then I took you to Shadyside, UPMC Shadyside.
Yeah, right. And so, being that I was there just a few days before my scheduled MRI, they decided to run an MRI scan. From that and the analysis of those results, it was determined that the cancer had actually gotten into spinal fluid, which had essentially leaked into my brain. And I know Carrie has a picture that she would like to show you all, and I'll kind of give a quick explanation. So essentially, the cancer got into the spinal fluid in my brain and has spread to different parts, including the pituitary gland. But Carrie, why don't you go ahead?
I want to show. So the pain that he was experiencing was swelling, and so this picture right here at the bottom, you see all this white right there. That's all the swelling that was taking place. You see that big black mark right there? All that is what was taken out. So up here, right here, this is the lobe that was taken out, and all that white right there, that's all new tumor that's growing. So then this right here, it like rode the spinal fluid up, and it landed right there where the doctor's pointing. Right there, that's pituitary gland right there, and that's where it settled, that spot where she's pointing to.
So essentially, what we were told is that the cancer is now spread into the inner part of my brain. It's inoperable. There is swelling there. It isn't too much to handle right now, but they did have to put me back on the steroids, which I have the lovely steroid face again, which throughout this journey has been a roller coaster. I started off, I was about 220 pounds when I started this journey in January of 19. I think in the summer of 19, I had gotten up to about 250 pounds, and that was largely from the steroids. 2020, I did a nice job getting down. I got all the way back down to 197, and that's where I had spent a decent part of my adult life, was sub 200. Got back down there. I was feeling pretty good. We had so many scans in a row in 2020 where we go in bi-monthly, and there was no tumor progression, and so the journey was going well. And I guess it was last summer that we found out that there was recurrent tumor. Ended up having 2 surgeries last year. So anyway, with this steroid situation, it's been frustrating, but really that's not a big deal. So starting to creep back up again because of the swelling and the headaches and everything that I was feeling. They put me back on a fairly higher dosage, but I think the reason why they really put me on a strong dose this time is because of the spread of the cancer in the brain and the increased swelling. They're doing their best to keep things from spiraling out of control too quickly. Because, and again, from the beginning I've said I'm not a medical professional, and so some of the things that I'm telling you I might actually be incorrect. But, one of the major dangers of this disease and being in the brain is the damage that it can cause, the swelling that it can cause. Whenever a part of the brain becomes compromised, that part of the brain is compromised permanently. The brain does not come back and heal itself. So whatever parts of the brain right now are functioning properly, we're doing our best to preserve them.
Also, with it being in the spinal fluid, the doctor was saying that it can actually make its way down your spine,
right,
and cause tumors around the spine. And so she gave us the option of, do we just want to do radiation on the spine just in case? Should we get MRIs of your spine? Things like that. And I know that we had said no, that was unnecessary, being that what can you really do now? It's all, if it weren't spread to that, to the pituitary gland in your brain, maybe. But since it did spread there, what's the point of doing more MRIs and then radiation?
Yeah.
But that is a risk that can happen when it is in the spinal fluid. It only takes one cell. So if one of those, abnormal cells goes and rides that river of spinal fluid, it can land anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and we've already exhausted our options for radiation on the original tumor area.
Yeah.
There was plenty of necrosis, and the doctors do not want to do that again. It could be an option to try to radiate the spine. There's no evidence right now that they saw.
You also didn't get anything,
Additional
you
MRIs
didn't
on
get
that
any additional
spine,
MRIs,
right?
but to me that just would be just more on your body, for what purpose?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if we knew that, okay, you can have a surgery and then we could take that out, and then work on the spine, but what in your brain right now, it's inoperable.
Mm-hmm.
So to me it seemed pointless, but I just wanted to say that way, they know that can happen just if it's in the spinal fluid.
Sure. Which one of the interesting things is, at the beginning we were told that generally brain cancer does not spread throughout the rest of the body. If it begins in the brain, it stays contained in the brain. You can have cancer that metastasizes to your brain if it starts elsewhere. But it seems like this actually sort of happened.
Yes, that's not normal.
Right. So anyway, all of this is to tell you that we've reached a point in this journey, which we started over 2 years ago now, where it looks like it could be the end of the road. And well, it's certainly not where we want to be. It is something that we've anticipated from the beginning that we could be here. And in reality, the timeline that we were given from the beginning has been fairly accurate. We were told originally that they expected some type of tumor recurrence in 12 to 18 months, and it happened almost exactly at 18 months. After that second surgery, I think that the timeline that we were given was about 3 to 6 months. Does that sound about right? And it came back in almost 6 months. So the doctors and what they've been telling us from the beginning, it has been pretty accurate. So
But this one
go
grew
ahead.
back fast because you had the surgery in December. You had a follow up one at the end of January.
Just follow-up MRI.
A follow up
Yeah.
MRI. That's what I meant. Yeah. So surgery December 3rd, and then you had a follow up MRI at the end of January, just I guess to see, and then you had like your regular scheduled one in February, and already back in February
There was signs of
there was
return.
already tumor progression. She was shocked that there already was something there. She said it's not much, but it was there,
Right.
and so
And that's when they went back in.
fast. And the doctor, yeah, well, no, the doctor said in January, he said that he was ultra aggressive with what he took out. He took out even more. That's why you saw that big black space in there, because he took out even more. He said he went around even more just to be thorough. As a precaution, they removed that whole lobe, the whole occipital lobe, just because his vision was already damaged. But so it was like, okay, let's take that out. We're going to be really aggressive with what we take out in your brain, so that way you have a better chance. And so we were thinking, okay, great. He was really aggressive. So that was January. February, that was just like, let's just see after the surgery, where are we? February, I mean, yeah, February, then you had your base one. Okay, let's see. Then every 2 months from then. So back in February, it already grew back.
Right.
After he was so aggressive.
Right. And so for the last few months, it was just, we've been kind of monitoring is I think the correct word. What's happening with it. I was feeling pretty well. Other than adjusting to life, being partially blind to my left, I was able to do many of the normal things that I had been doing for the last couple of years, spending time with the kids and Carrie, and even able to work on a part-time basis. But with this latest news, this is a game changer. The prognosis that I was given is I have a few weeks to a couple months, and as I said, that was about 10 days ago now on Friday. So, extrapolate that, and if the doctor's correct, I probably have 2 to 4 weeks at most here for this journey. And
But that might not be.
that
That could be wrong.
They could be wrong. And that was the thought from the beginning. The doctors, from the beginning, and Dr. Mantica has been my primary doctor. This is not an exact science. It's a field of science that's constantly evolving, and treatments are getting better. But we were told from the beginning there is no cure to date, and so this was an uphill battle that we knew that we were fighting all along.
I do want to say the medication that you're on. So he was on, for the longest time, just on the
Vimpat.
Vimpat. Yeah, I want to say something different.
Anti-seizure medication.
Yeah, he was just on the anti-seizure medication for a long time, up until right whenever when we took him to the hospital on Tuesday. Then he got put on steroid dexamethasone and Protonics or whatever.
A Pepsid.
Pepsid to help with the acid. So then he was only on those 3 things. The doctor gave him what was it called? Like, I don't want to call it like a special medicine, like whatever. What is that called? Ativan?
No.
What is it?
Ativan is when we would be starting. It's a medication.
Lozapram?
That's closer to it. Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, it's a special one that, like, if on the onset of like a seizure or things like that, when he has the focal seizures, to give him. So right now, that's what he's on. However, starting Tuesday, he's going to be taking this new medication dosage. I don't even know what is it.
It's a medication, Avastin.
Avastin. Okay.
Yeah.
Ativan, I think, was the other one.
No. Lorazepam.
Yeah, but then there's a second name for it. I think that's like the name, and then there's something.
Like a generic name versus
Whatever it is.
a name brand.
Anyway, yeah. So then,
sorry for the sketchy information.
so then you're gonna be taking.
Okay, so Ativan is what I'm planning to begin on Tuesday, and again, this information is new to us, so we're doing our best to communicate it to you. So right now they're using steroids and heavier dosage. I think I'm on 8 milligrams. No, I'm on 4 milligrams a day, 2 milligrams twice a day, and so that's to contain the swelling. The Ativan is going to essentially replace the steroids. It doesn't have some of the same side effects that the steroids does, and it's just a more direct approach to treating the swelling in the brain. So I'm actually going in on Tuesday to have my first treatment, or at least a consultation for the treatment, and that will be administered via IV. But essentially, what we were told about this is that it's not a chemo treatment, and so it's not designed to attack the cancer. It's designed to reduce the swelling in the brain and to maintain the brain's condition for as long as possible. So, because again, the cancer is spread throughout the brain, and there aren't any treatment options that they're offering or that appear to be good. We're going to try to reduce or maintain the level of inflammation so that my brain doesn't deteriorate. But this does have its own side effects, drawbacks. So I guess it can often lead to bleeding, which can lead to strokes, heart attacks, stuff like that. So hopefully it goes well.
Right.
Go ahead.
Like, that doesn't even sound that bad because you have brain cancer. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, hearing these things, like, whenever you, like, read the risks of something, you know, the worst risk would be death, you know? And so it seems like anything just shy of that, it's almost like it's worth a shot, in a sense, other than, like, those other ones that made you feel bad. This is not supposed to make you feel bad. So,
Right.
like, to me, like, when you say those things, like, it just feels like...
But essentially now with the brain cancer, what is going to lead to end of life is the brain starts shutting down, and it starts shutting down other organs in your bodily functions, whatever. So we're just trying to preserve the brain for as long as possible, right? So obviously we hate to be the bearers of this news, but because so many of you out there have invested in us and in our story, I kind of have transitioned over the last few months to giving quick updates on Facebook rather than us being able to sit down at a time like this, which, you know, where we are right now, it's after midnight, to be able to do this because the kids are all in bed and it's quiet, and we get some time to collect our thoughts. So we certainly did not intend to leave you all hanging and to neglect sharing our story. From the beginning, our purpose in sharing this story was to document our journey for ourselves and for our children. For those of you out there who already knew us, we wanted to be able to communicate with you what was happening, though Facebook kind of replaced that, at least for me and those who contacted me on a regular basis. I was able to communicate with them via Facebook. But those of you who have followed the journey and who've reached out to us from all over the world and all over this country, you know, we did want to give you an update. And you know, I hesitate to call this the final update, but truly it could be our final update here. I want to say once again, reiterate that the way that we've chosen to take this journey with treatment, I'm not in any way endorsing it or recommending it, though I would do it again. I would absolutely do it again. Go ahead.
I think that we did what we felt led to do, in the sense that, like, just, you know, by prayer and just by, you know, gut feeling of what should be done. You were given different trial options and different medication, and at one point Brennan said to the doctor, and they came with like different side effects, and then he was like, you would be losing your quality of life with your children that you have now, and it would be almost pointless. And so Brandon said to his doctor, he said, like, you're basically saying, you know, you're admitting that there's nothing that's going to work. Everything is going to fail. Like,
or nothing has a high
right,
efficacy.
or nothing was even proven. Like,
Right.
what you have is deadly.
Mhm.
Like, so it's not going to work in the sense it's not going to cure him. It's not going to be a cure. There isn't a cure. And so basically you're saying like, okay, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark at some random drug to see like, hey, maybe this will work.
Yeah.
And we did not feel led to it. I mean, if Brandon wanted to, I would have supported him on whatever he wanted to do. I didn't feel that he should do one thing or another, but I felt like I would, whatever you wanted to do, I would.
I mean, the one guarantee that we seem to get with whatever the treatment options were, and basically we were just left with these different cytotoxic chemo options. The one guarantee is that I would be sick, and for me, even though now I'm 38 years old, and this is certainly not when I was a teenager or a young adult, this is not where I thought my life might come to an end here at 38. But after receiving the cancer diagnosis and going through this journey, I have had a high quality of life and a lot of good time to spend with my family. And for those last, what is it now? It's 2.5 years since I received the diagnosis. Yeah. I really have not lost that much. In fact, I would argue that I've been more productive in many ways with my life and my time. And I'm sure you can hear out there, this is why we don't get time to do many videos. So we have a crying baby back there. But, so I don't know if there's what else we can do to update you on the situation. I'm not saying we won't check back in. If there's something that happens over the next week and a half that's significant, I'd like to keep you all updated and apprised of our journey. I will say thank you so much for the love and support that you shared, the prayers that you've sent our way. We've never felt a lack of support and love throughout this journey. I'm going to try to wrap this up here because this could escalate with the little one. But one thing that I have tried to share throughout this is my faith and the role that it has played throughout everything. I know for most of the early videos anyway, I would share a favorite Bible verse, and I do have one that I'm going to share tonight because this has been on my heart throughout the entire time and has brought me great comfort and strength when I needed it. And this is a verse, more than one verse, that I learned as a young child, and I remind myself of it constantly, and that is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me along quiet waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.